This is the video for the Jamboard practice that we completed for the 2 days of reviewing of 2-5 on solving compound inequalities and 2-6 on solving absolute value inequalities. So first we started with numbers 3 and 4, which are solving compound inequalities. Number 3 is an OR inequality, so we're going to solve the inequality separate and graph it separate as well. So we're adding 2, so we're first going to start by subtracting 2. We're multiplying x by 3, so we're going to divide both sides by 3. So one part of the solution is x is less than -4. The other part we're going to get from solving the right side inequality. Right now we're subtracting 4, so we're going to add 4 to start. -4 plus 4 is 0. Right now we're multiplying x by 2, so we're going to divide both sides by 2. So x, it needs to be less than -4, or x can be greater than 0. So x can be less than -4 or greater than 0. For number 4, this is an AND compound inequality, so our goal is to isolate x in the middle. Whatever we do to isolate x in the middle, we also have to do to the right side and to the left side. So first we want to add 4 to all 3 parts. Then in the middle, we're multiplying x by 2, so we're going to divide all 3 parts by 2. So x needs to be greater than or equal to -6 and less than or equal to 3. So the shading for this compound inequality is where those two shadings overlap. So we're going to shade in between -6 and 3. So OR inequalities, they shade in the tails. It's either this or that. And inequalities, we shade in between because x is in between those two values. The second day of review, we worked on absolute value inequalities. The first step for absolute value inequalities is to determine, is it going to be an AND compound inequality or an OR compound inequality? And we can tell by the inequality symbol. If it's greater than or equal to or greater than, it's going to be an OR inequality. Less than or equal to, it's going to result into an AND compound inequality. So let's decide those first. 7, it's greater than or equal to, so it's going to be an OR. 8 is less than, so it's an AND. The second step to solving absolute value inequalities is to set up the compound inequality. So for the OR, we write the inequality as is, just without the absolute value. We want to include the word OR. And we want to flip the inequality symbol and make that value negative. Now we're going to solve both parts of these compound inequalities and graph it on the number line below. First, we want to deal with the -8. It's negative, so we're going to add it to both sides. -8 times n, so we're going to divide both sides by -8. Same rules apply here because we divided by a negative. We have to flip that inequality symbol. Same steps for the other inequality. We'll just get different numbers along the way. Last step, divide both sides by -8. Again, we divided by a negative, so we gotta flip. So we get n is less than or equal to -11, or n can be greater than or equal to +9. Now, -11 to 9, those numbers are pretty far apart, so we're just going to use larger increments and then estimate where these numbers are on the number line. So less than or equal to -11, greater than or equal to +9. For number 8, we decided it was an and inequality because it's less than. So our next step is to set up the two parts of the and compound inequality. So set up what you're given, which is without the absolute value. Flip the inequality symbol and make that value negative. Now remember, our goal here is to isolate x in the middle. So what you do to the middle, you have to do to the right and to the left. So first we'll start by subtracting 4. In the middle we have 2 times x. So to finish, we want to divide all 3 parts by 2. So the solution for x is it needs to be less than 3 and greater than -7. So between -7 and 3. So open at both ends and shaded in between. Because that's where x needs to be. It needs to be in between -7 and 3. That's it for the Jamboard practice assignments for the quiz review on 2-5 solving compound inequalities and 2-6 solving absolute value inequalities.